Native bees are fantastic pollinators. In particular, Australian native bees are specialists at pollinating indigenous plants. This furry Australian bee is from the Trichochelides genus. The furry body of this female allows it to dislodge pollen from flowers and store the pollen bundles as it continues to forage amongst plants. In the Nillumbik Shire, this Trichochelides bee species seems to favour pea shrubs, in particular Duwinia plants and narrow-leaf bitter pea. Having so many flowers makes pea shrubs an excellent plant to have in backyards and some conservation ecosystems to support larger native bees during spring. Just like Duwinia species, this Gomphallobium plant is a pea plant. Native pea plants have a characteristic flower structure in which the anthers are hidden beneath the two lower petals. Bees have to exert enough force to separate the bottom petals to access pollen from a pea plant. Due to the relatively large flower head of this Gomphallobium plant, it is usually the larger bees in the Megachile and Lasioglossum genre that are found attending to Gomphallobium flowers. Blue-banded bees are buzzy little insects that are more common than you might think. They are busy during the summer months attending to indigenous plants such as Hopkidina and cosmopolitan plants such as purple loosestrife. Hopkidina is a hardy plant that can handle a range of conditions, including dry summers and slightly waterlogged soils. Purple loosestrife, on the other hand, in most cases grows on the edges of wetlands and therefore enjoys moist soils. There are over 11 blue-banded bee species in Australia. Some species have vivid blue bands on their abdomen, while others have whiter stripes. Indigenous Dianella plants in the Nillumbik Shire attract a range of bee species, from this red abdomen Lasioglossum bee to bees in the Lipotriches genus. It is harder to access pollen from Dianella plants than many other indigenous plants in the Shire, and therefore bees need to be able to perform a special form of pollination called buzz pollination to remove pollen from Dianella anthers. Not all Australian bees are capable of buzz pollination. Small native bees such as this Lasioglossum bee are often seen foraging on daisies. This may be due to the relatively large landing pad and abundant small flowers in the one inflorescence. In spring, when many shrubs might not be flowering in a reserve or a backyard, daisies become very important. Being a small native bee also helps accessing nectar from the base of a funnel-shaped flower. This reed bee is accessing nectar from a Wallenbergia flower head. It quickly cleans its body before flying off. Similar to pea shrubs, sweet Bacteria boasts abundant flowers on individual plants. Its flowering period spans from November to March. Smaller bees such as this green and gold Nomia bee are often seen foraging on sweet Bacteria. White flowering plants often attract a high diversity of insects. This may be because they emit a relatively strong fragrance which many insects can detect. This flower-feeding March fly is an excellent pollinator and only one of many important fly pollinators in the area. Another group of pollinators are the hoverflies. Whilst I mostly see them feeding on shrubs, they will be enticed by understory plants such as this Wallenbergia. This hoverfly species is doing a remarkable job of imitating a bee's abdomen. This beautiful butterfly is the bright copper. It is a close relative of the Eltham copper butterfly. Adults can be seen feeding on sweet Bacteria, whilst females lay eggs on the underside of sweet Bacteria leaves. Caterpillars are protected by ants whilst feeding on sweet Bacteria leaves. Like a host of other butterflies, the bright copper butterfly loves to sip nectar from sweet Bacteria in summer. With so many flowers in just one inflorescence, sweet Bursera can have hundreds of flowers on the one specimen. This allows a great diversity of insects to feed at the same time. Another butterfly that may be spotted sipping nectar from sweet Bursera is the green grass dart. Check out its proboscis as it pulsates it up and down upon Bursera flowers. The dart butterflies in Nillumbik are part of the skipper family. Other skippers that Bursera attracts include the white grass dart and the barred skipper. Butterflies in the brown butterfly group are also attracted to sweet Bursera. Pictured here is the ringed zenica. The common brown butterfly is also regularly seen feeding on Bursera. Other white flowering shrubs that butterflies are drawn to include Olearia ovata and this plant called yarraburgen. This spotted sedge skipper is relatively uncommon in the Shire and was seen on multiple occasions feeding on kunzea. Brown butterflies such as this female common brown will also forage on kunzea. When it comes to understory plants that attract butterflies, it's hard to go past indigenous daisies. Xerochrysoms and this hooray sunray plant are excellent choices for backyard gardens. It is vitally important to engage with all behavioural traits of insects when considering ecosystem management. This saltbush blue butterfly uses saltbush plants such as this Rhogodia species and Atriplex plants to lay eggs on, whilst the splendid ochre skipper lays eggs on Lomandra leaf blades. When the caterpillars hatch, they feed on this vegetation. Furthermore, butterflies spend a lot of their life resting and basking in the sun. Some species like to do this on indigenous grass blades. Plants such as kangaroo grass, indigenous poa species, and red anther wallaby grass double as food sources for caterpillars and places for butterflies to bask and rest. Other species such as the very dusky blue is often seen resting on small sticks on the ground. Terrestrial Nillumbik orchids often don't provide any sweet nectar for a pollinator, instead luring the male pollinator by mimicking the scent of the female and or resembling the female with parts of its flower. Here we see the male dupe orchid wasp pseudo-copulating with a large tongue orchid in St. Andrews. As it bobs its abdomen up and down on the backside of the large tongue orchid, it comes in contact with the parts of the orchid that store the polliner packages. If all goes well for the large tongue orchid, pollen will stick to the wasp's abdomen. This Caladinia parva specimen has successfully lured in a wasp in the thynoid family with a combination of scent and the shape of its labellum. Male thynoid wasps can often be quite taken by the labellum or the sepals and petals which emit these mimicking scents. There are more species of beetles than any other animal group in the world. Whilst the juvenile stages often hide underneath bark or in the soil, adult beetles mostly live above ground and often stand out because of their impressive size, morphological features and or colourful wing patterns. Beetles are often forgotten about when it comes to pollination. However, many species of beetles love to feed on indigenous white flowering shrubs. In springtime, jewel beetles can be seen flying between kunzea plants and seem quite comfortable feeding amongst a range of other insects. In summer, when Bursera flowers en masse, jewel beetles and chafer beetles are regular attendees. Chafer beetles often feed up high on older and larger Bursera specimens. A keen observer can spot these large beetles with a pair of binoculars. This species is called the spotted chafer, identified by the spots on its wings. And this individual is called a fiddler beetle, named for the pattern on its wings resembling a fiddle instrument. Here is an example of a forest ecosystem excluding pest fauna species and managing weedy shrub species. Indigenous grasses, lomandra and daisies are beginning to sprout back up, and indigenous planted pea shrubs produce many flowers when they are not nibbled. In the intertussock grass spaces, other species begin to sprout, such as the waxlip orchid. In this small backyard plot, there is a nice combination of indigenous daisies, geraniums and dianella plants for insect food, whilst kangaroo grass provides a space to rest and lay eggs for some species. In this forest ecosystem, plentiful sweet Bosseria blossoms bloom. Larger shrubs such as sweet Bosseria and Hopkidina are a great addition to a home indigenous plot because they produce a lot of flowers and often flower in late summer.